Get ready with me. I have had something on my mind a little bit, more so than usual lately. So every time that happens, I feel like it's something that might be great to do a get ready with me video and chat a little bit about, because usually actually chatting about it in this way helps me to sort through my own thoughts on themes that are surfacing in my own life. This one in particular has to do with something that I'm going to ask you to consider. And that is, what if you came here to live this particular life at this time in our human history because something about you at a soul level is uniquely suited to help your family lineage, your ancestry, heal generational wounds and patterns? In other words, what if you were sent here specifically at this time, incarnated here, to be the cycle breaker and to work through any lingering lineage deep intergenerational karmic wounds, to do what you can to help clear that for your lineage? So hear me out, because I'm going to come back to that theme, but first I want to provide a little bit of a backdrop. As I've mentioned in previous videos, I was in the military. My husband, who passed away 4.5 years ago, was also in the military. That's where we met. My brother was in the military, my mom was in the military, and my dad was in the military. I grew up on military bases. Being a military family was very much a part of our identity. And while it's been a long time personally for me since I really connected with those military roots in my family, it's been coming up a lot lately on my mind, and I think there's a reason for that. In order to provide a little bit of background on that, I think it's important to share that I am half Mexican and half Puerto Rican. I was born in Spain on a U.S. military base. My dad was stationed there for the Air Force. He was born in Texas, and my mom was born in New York. They met in the military, just like me and my husband did. But their parents were not born in the United States. And in fact, in the case of my dad's family, which is where I get the Mexican side of my heritage, they were a migrant working family. They traveled in between Texas and California, working the fields. My dad grew up in a very poor family. And even though he was born in America, he received a lot of difficult messaging from his own family about what he would need to do in order to fit in here. And so much of that really made him a very driven person. It instilled in him the idea that even though he's an American citizen, in order to earn his keep here, that he would need to be highly successful and do everything that he could to blend in, which meant, as soon as possible, no longer speaking Spanish. Obviously, joining the military himself, he became an officer in the military. From my vantage point, looking back, it felt as though he was trying to prove his worthiness to be here at all. When he and my mom had children, I was the oldest, and like I said, I was born in Spain on a military base. Because we lived in Spain, I was taught a little bit of Spanish, but they were very childlike words like bathroom and, the names of different clothing items, and very household little kid sorts of words and phrases. But as soon as my dad was stationed back in the United States, it was made clear that we were not to really continue speaking Spanish in the home. And there was a very clear message that I feel like I picked up on that was about de-emphasizing my cultural heritage and really emphasizing my nationality as an American citizen. Now I want to fast forward a little bit to the present day, because lately I've been feeling a really strong tug to connect with my ancestry, because so much of my cultural heritage was not passed down to me. I've been longing to feel into who my ancestors were and connect with them. So last night for Halloween, I did a little ceremony that ended up being really moving, because Halloween really in its roots has to do with connecting with your ancestors and loved ones who have passed. And so I thought, well, what a beautiful way to celebrate Halloween and do that this year, since my ancestry has been calling, has been really on my heart. I feel almost their energy tugging on me. The way that it feels is as though they are suggesting that the work that I'm doing right now is very much not just for me, that it's for them too. That each step that I take to heal, to reintegrate every element of who I am at a soul level and bring it into my 3D reality and allow those things to exist, allow them to be a part of me unapologetically and without shame. Everything that I do along those lines helps to heal them, helps to heal the ancestral line. And so it's not unusual for me to do ceremonies for different purposes. I feel like it's a really beautiful way to deepen your spiritual life. What I'll often do is start off by anchoring my practice by connecting with God, Jesus, and the light that lives within me, and also with Holy Spirit, the feminine aspect of God. I anchor my presence in those energies first, and then I always start off by finding a passage in the Bible that really resonates with what it is that I'm trying to convey, to work with, or to heal. And then what I did last night was asked to connect with ancestors who are healed and whole, well, and wise. The reason why I feel like that's super important is because not everybody in our ancestry is necessarily a healthy energy to connect with. Let's put it that way. And so that's part of what I'm talking about, working on healing for the ancestral line, though, because everything that we do to heal ourselves also pours down into our family tree, and every soul connected with that tree benefits from that healing. But for the purpose of the ceremony, I wanted to connect specifically with healed and whole, well and wise ancestors. And then I simply allowed myself to speak with them. I felt really compelled to empathize with the difficulties that they may have encountered with respect to being able to be their fullest selves in their time, especially the female ancestors. I tried to connect with and empathize with what it might have felt like for them to feel like they were allowed to be a whole person, to fully embody their essence in their lifetime, because so often, historically, women have had to fold themselves into a particular shape in order to fit into societal structures, demands, cultural norms that really might have prioritized their role as being in service of others as opposed to being allowed to stand fully in their power. And also ancestors who might have been demonized or punished for embracing aspects of their spiritual selves, trying to honor the cultural practices and rhythms of life that were passed down to them by the previous generations that didn't conform to the social norms of the time. I feel like for so many people, regardless of your cultural background, that there was a point where there was a split in what your ancestors had been passing down generation to generation spiritually and what was allowable. And so there was this washing out of ancestral DNA in some sense, like trees cut off at their base, with the roots staying stuck in the ground and the tree transplanted somewhere else. That's the way that it feels to me. So many people landed in this present life, in this present day. Human beings cut off from their roots. And then to some degree, of course, floundering because of that, because who you are is deeply tied to the family that you came from, the spiritual lineage that you've evolved within. And so anyway, as I was connecting with that energy and talking to them, I was hit with a really powerful wave of emotions, just tears upon tears upon tears of grief that didn't even feel like mine. I feel like it allowed me to be a conduit in that moment to hold and acknowledge generations upon generations of pain. And what it did as well is it also made me really deeply attuned to the fact that not only is every single step that I take on my own healing journey benefiting prior generations, but also generations of the future, my children, my future grandchildren, and their children. This healing extends in all directions of time. And so whatever it is that you're doing right now to heal wounds that might feel like they're yours and or wounds that were passed down to you from prior generations and that are not only embedded in your DNA, but that were also reinforced as you absorbed interactional patterns in the home and how those played out. Every step that you take, you're stitching together the fabric of your family lineage for all souls that came before you and for all the ones yet to come. But I also want to honor the fact that it is not easy work. Circling back to what I was talking about at the beginning of this video with the military theme, I think the reason why that's been coming up for me is because even though this whole military thread was started in my family because I would say my dad felt a sense of needing to prove his worth and value as an American citizen who happens to be Mexican, even though that started a chain of more of us joining the military, more of us serving in the family. Because of things that have been going on recently in the United States where I live, I have needed to pull out my and my children's birth certificates, honorable military discharge certificates of mine and my husband's, make photocopies, and put copies of each sealed in Ziploc bags in my children's backpacks and in my purse so that we have them with us at all times. And it breaks my heart. And I think it's kicking up all of this old family trauma, family wounding around belonging. It really felt as though, wow, no matter what we do, no matter how much we serve, we're not welcome here. We're not good enough. And while I keep those copies with us everywhere we go, I'm feeling a really strong nudge to challenge that within myself. I've sort of had enough with the notion that any one of us, regardless of heritage, has to contort themselves or bend and fold and shape themselves into a particular pattern in order to belong. I'm not here for that anymore. I'm not signing on for that. I'm not in support of that. Who you are as an individual is enough. You are so deeply lovable. You are so deeply needed, wanted. You're here for a reason. You're here for a purpose. And if you hide or attempt to delete or bury any aspect of who you truly are on the inside, you're shortchanging all of us. We all suffer. We don't get to benefit fully from who you are at your truest and most authentic level. And who you are at a soul level is exactly who you're supposed to be. I'm saying this to you, but I'm also saying this to me. And I'm saying this to my children who I hope will watch some of these videos after I'm gone. I'm saying this to my ancestors, and I'm saying this to yours. Enough. We've had enough of that. It's time to call upon a different kind of energy. It's time to alchemize that history, that pain, that mindset into something that is higher, that is more pure in alignment with where we're going as a human race, with where humanity is headed. We can't bring any of that with us. It's time to reevaluate and reconsider. And I think that work starts first on the inside of each of us, regardless of your cultural history or background. So anyway, I hope that that landed at some level for some of you. It may not have landed for everybody. And again, like I've said before, that's okay. We're all on our own journey. We can't even pretend to fully understand where each of us is coming from because we haven't walked in one another's shoes. But if anything, I'm hoping that this video serves as just an example of saying the awkward, hard, uncomfortable things because they need to be said. Silence has been the old way, one that I'm deeply familiar with. Self-censorship, also a part of the old way, one that I'm deeply familiar with, but I'm not aligning with that frequency anymore. And this is me stepping out and trying to do something different. I know that so many of you are trying to do the same. I honor you, I celebrate you, and I thank you. Talk to you again soon. Bye.